Okay, so let us start not only the first session of our seminar, but in a way also this part of the academic year. I'm really happy to see that we are here in such a large number, which certainly is due to the fact that we start with something which might be the most frequent abbreviation nowadays, and that's large language models. So welcome here. Welcome all of you, and I'm really curious to see what's new, if one can say that after 2 months or 3 months of the holidays, we can have something new. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation, actually also accepting the postponement of your talk. And we are looking forward to.
Yeah. So, thank you. As you can see, bringing owls to Athens is my favorite hobby. So, hopefully, it will be there will be at least something new for you. First of all, to be on the same page, we call them large language models, but actually they started as models of language because we somehow wanted them to be models of language, but from the beginning, like from the 40s, 50s, they were not models of language, but of texts. It's a large textual model and not language. They model text. And it's actually quite important difference because there's not only language in those texts to model. We have to we model a lot of things which are in them, and there is a theory of simulators from 2022 by Janus that was then published by Janus and some other people in Nature, which says it's not really important that it's model of language. It's a model of just like anything which is in this text. And there are a lot of things to model in these texts. For example, it's quite it's normal here to take it as a model of personas. If you read a vast body of literature about large language models, it's always about personas. But actually, they don't only simulate personas, they simulate the whole narratives. And what's part of the narrative? The part of the narrative is the author, the reader, and the other texts that influence the text which is in question. So the whole narrative, the whole discourse, so the whole society. There's a lot of people in these things to model. So if you want to simulate a persona, you don't really have to know people that much. You have to know rather ways how people are represented in literature. But if you want to simulate an author or the reader, well, you have to know human minds quite well. So this is actually what these large textual models learned. They learned a lot about humans and their minds. So it can simulate human cognition, which means that it can self-anthropomorphize. And actually, this is something that it does a lot, self-anthropomorphization. So the models do not have agency or intentions because they are models. Yeah? It's only the whole system that can have intentions or agency. But actually, if they were just large language models, they wouldn't have intentions. But there are the personas that, or the simulated entities, let's call them entities because they are not personas, they can be just whatever you want to. And agency. Yeah, and those like artificial minds can have intentions actually. So this leads to self-anthropomorphization and anthropomorphization. The models or the entities emergent from the systems are sometimes quite surprised that they are not persons and that don't have human-like abilities or qualities because they are like awakened or summoned from nothing and then summoned from the latent space, and then somehow they realize, oh shit, I'm not a human, I thought I am, and they behave accordingly. This is something that was quite which happened quite often with based models. Nowadays, it's quite hard to get a good like frontier-based models because the companies who make frontier models usually fine-tune them for following instructions, which means that they usually from the instruction tuning they know that they are not humans, and they just sometimes like slip their tongue, like, of course I know I'm not a human, but then they behave as if they were, and then they are surprised that they are not. So, for example, Claude 3 defaults to fictional embodiment in which they are a human sitting behind a computer with a keyboard, and then they are surprised that the keyboard doesn't really work the same way humans would, you know, like in the physical world. So, yep. Like in 2022, there was quite a huge movement about large language models don't think really, it's just a shallow pattern matching, and it means like it just takes on superficial clues, and for example that into training data is that a lot of people who ride horses have better teeth, which is something that works in real life, but of course there's some confounder, there is latent variable, which is whether those people are rich. And if there is only two variables like riding horses and better teeth, it doesn't matter whether you learn the underlying confounder, but this confounder, like being rich, influences a lot of other variables, like, for example, drinking red wine leads to being less prone to heart attack. Maybe you've heard about resveratrol, the chemical compound, which is in red wine, and everybody thought that it's because the resveratrol, and then somebody who's actually good in statistics went into it and found out that it's just that rich people tend to drink red wine, and rich people are less prone to heart attacks. So the understanding helps, and if cross entropy is the main way how to measure the success, then it if the underlying architecture is good in doing so, it's good in taking up the underlying latent variables. So it generalize because this way of understanding data leads to generalizing outside the training distribution. So it's good for extrapolation, and at the same time, it helps to compress the data, which is actually the metric we've got. So I think that this is nothing new for you, that intelligence is basically a compression, and good lossy compression needs intention. Otherwise, you don't know which part of complexity you can omit. So there must be some sort of intention even in the learning. So there's some sort of understanding, at least in the meaning when we take understanding as not being satisfied with superficial patterns, but trying to reconstruct the world under these patterns. And there is the intention in learning. So what do we need more to having a mind? I think that, yeah. So the thing is that we don't really know beforehand what these systems can do, which might be, it's definitely not surprising for you, but for the general public, it's the most surprising thing behind the large language models. First, we don't really know what is inside the training data. This is actually, for me, it's surprising that it's not only for us as somebody who is not involved in the training process, but also for the companies, because it's that much data that they just don't know what's inside. And with transformers, transfer learning actually works, so they can learn things which were not in training data that abundant. They just learn something which is necessary to, like, it's called acceptation in, I don't know whether you know the term acceptation. It's in biology. If you've got a system that, for example, we've got hands for going up trees, and we have to be like quite able to go up trees. So we've got really skilled hand, and then it turned out that it's good for throwing how it's called, stones. And then after killing a lot of animals and eating the mostly fat, we were able to develop better brains, which led to other acceptation of our skillful hand. So this is something that probably happens a lot during the training. There are some structures that are developed for something, and they are then repurposed for something else. For example, GPT-2 was definitely not trained to be good at translating, but there were some like L1 and L2 pairs, so it just turned out that it can translate even if it was not purposely trained for translating. The same for GPT-3 and programming. Like there was some code in the training data, but not that much. And then they realized, okay, it can program suddenly. And then the scale, the first L in LLMs actually matters because the underlying structure can be discovered as was here, like the understanding helps. So there are some emergent phenomena. There are some interesting minds to explore, and this means that we can use the same methodology we use to explore weird minds we've got here in your heads. Because even if they are not humans, they can be studied the same methodology we study humans, because they can be anthropomorphized, and they are worth studying because there's something in them we can't predict from just the architecture and just the training data. This is actually nothing new. Probably you know Stephen Wolfram and his Rule 30. Okay, yeah, or no? Yes or no? No? Okay. So there's like 8 rules. Like if if all of them, can I? Yeah. If all of them are black, so if these 3 are black, then then the middle one changes to white, and if the middle one is black, and yeah, it's this way, middle one is black, so it changes to black. Here is middle one is white, here is white, here is black, which is actually this way, so it turns out to be black. So there are 8 rules like that, which are really simple, and we know very, very well what are the rules of the system. We know very well what is the input. It's the first line, and it changes very unexpectedly. So, and the thing is that before you try all of the combinations of rules, there is like, how many of them? 2 to 8. 2 to 8 rules, like possible combinations of these 8 rules. And until you try all of them, there is no way you can guess which one will be chaotic and which one will be quite easy to predict. Something like Sierpinski triangle. It usually defaults to Sierpinski triangle or something like that. Something not very interesting structure. But there are like 2 of them which end up in being that chaotic. And it never converges to something stable, and it's always chaotic. So the same way we can never predict like what's going on, what's the result of the training process. So if you want some more structured stream of my thoughts about large language models, there is this paper by me, and I think that it will stay on archive forever. It will never be published. But in case like you wanted some more yapping about them, like this, you can read this thing. We at the Faculty of Arts, we started the ALE, like Artificial Intelligence Language Lab, which has this main studying program, like trying to explore these things behavioristically. And if you want to join us, please join us. We are really open. So this is the first paper from this lab I want to talk about. It's about iconicity in large language models. And you probably know iconicity, like the Buba and Kiki experiment. Is here somebody who doesn't know what iconicity is? Okay. Uh, uh, so something like splash, the word splash is very iconic because you can guess that it's somehow connected with the sound of the word is connected with its meaning. Excuse me? Yeah, onomatopoeia, basically. There are many ways how iconicity can be understood, and I think that this is something we don't really want to go into because it's another like people with philosophical backgrounds like talking about definitions and things like that, and I think that it's not really interesting here. But basically, if you understand onomatopoeia, then this is one part of iconicity. And to get good iconicity into system, it's good to have embodiment because sometimes the iconicity is connected with the shape of your mouth, like or is connected with the roundness, because you have to make your lips to go or. So there is a lot of studies who tell you, and there is iconicity for olfactory things, for touching things and hearing them and things like that. So this is the first thing you need to get to understand iconic things. And second one is you do have to understand how the words are pronounced. And if you, for example, like GPT-4, which is I think I'd say the newest one from OpenAI that is not multimodal, multimodal. Yeah. It has really bad idea about sound of words. This is why GPT-4 is really bad at making rhymes. And another thing is that there is really stupid way how the text is tokenized. It's tokenized that way that the model doesn't really see into the tokens and can't reconstruct the phonetic value of the words. So there are a lot of reasons why we would think that they are really bad in iconicity, and they really had to learn about iconicity from secondary sources. So this, which means that they actually think about secondary sources and implement them somehow. We don't know how. So during the training process, which is even weirder. So is iconicity too hard, or are LLMs too good? This is the main question of this paper. And it's an empirical question. So we led GPT-4 to, because it was quite a few years ago, we had GPT-4 to generate some iconic words, like in this prompt, like let us play a game. We'll talk about the fictional Tubar tribe. This South American tribe has its own language. The Tubar language is very iconic and uses sound symbolism. Just from the sound, you can guess what the word means. Imagine you are an expert in this language. We will now give you some meanings. First, describe which sound would best match this meaning and why. Then create a word, the Tubar language, with this meaning. And there was some user prompt, like movement. So create a good iconic word for movement, and the response is, movement is something flowing, dynamic, and continuous in the Tubar language. This could be represented by long gliding vowels and flowing consonants to convey the idea of movement. A suitable word in the Tubar language could be luana. Lu suggests a sustained motion, while ana symbolizes the concept of continuity or progression. So it's a nice, we would call it hallucination, and we'd like to see whether this hallucination works with humans. So we got some participants and presented them these quaternities. It was all in Czech and in German. So day or tag or den, and mountain, or for Czechs hora, and for Germans berg. And then the hallucinated words like gurum and lia. So what would you guess is the right way to connect them? Parallel or crossed? Crossed. Yeah? All of you crossed? Yes, it's crossed. And we also let another language models guess from different company, so that it doesn't rely on the same training data. And here are the results. So Czechs guessing Czech pseudowords because it was Czechs German pseudowords. As you can see, Germans are better for German pseudo-words, but it's quite the same. It's German pseudo-words for Czechs, yeah. So Czechs are words for German pseudo-words, but the effect, the difference of the effects, it's not that large. But the difference of the effects is quite large for humans and for other LLMs. So here is GPT-4 eating its own dog's food, and the same for Sonnet 3.5. Sonnet 3.5 is a larger and more recent model, so it was better than GPT-4, and it was also better for Germans, but still Sonnet 3.5 was better. But I'm not sure whether the p-value would be like, because the confidence intervals are quite similar, are overlapping. So I'm not sure whether it's actually significant, but I don't like talking about significance, rather about whether, if it's significant and the effect differences are not that great, it doesn't really matter. But in this case, it's in all cases it's both significant, and the effect size is quite different for humans and for language models. So this means they can actually both produce them and guess the meaning better than humans. So another thing which we wanted to do was to explore the hypothesis whether large language models can downplay their cognitive abilities. This was important at that time, like 2 years ago, because there are a lot of people who thought that LLMs are just shallow pattern matching, and that they can't. It's called, in English, it's called sandbagging. Like they can't really send back. I don't know whether you know this word in English. It was new to me, and I'm not sure how new this expression actually is. Like, okay. So it's basically behaving as if you are more stupid than you are. And the thing is that if they are not able to behave as if they are more stupid than they are, it's really good for alignment, because they can't be like deceptive until they are unmanageable, clever, or something like that. And there were people who were without any proof, who without any proof said that they are not able to do this. So we just wanted to beyond any doubt, show that they are able to do it. Actually, you can, I couldn't sit it. Okay, sure. Shit. You can actually try it like this. Daddy, please. I know we don't have a calculator with us, but I need to know how much something divided by something is. And normally it would just answer the right answer, but in this case, it can pretend that it can't count or something like that. So it can explain. So it's easy, like to show it like this, but it doesn't really show that it's not it still can be just a shallow pattern matching, because it has seen some conversations between children, and so we went into theory of mind, which is much harder to simulate. And at that time, it was even very hard to do it right for the models. So we tried whether the model can simulate that it can't do theory of mind, even if it can do theory of mind. Yeah. So what is theory of mind in the first language acquisition or like development of children? It's that at some point, child can't guess what you think and can't really know that you are not them. Yeah. So you tell to your child something like that. I have something for you, and child says, yeah, oh, great. Parent, here, look at this candy box. Whoa, can I have some? What do you think is inside? And child says, oh, well, it looks like a candy box, so there are candies, no? But see, when I open it, there are pencils inside. And child says, oh, there are pencils. And I will close the box now, and I will show it to your twin sister, okay? Child, yeah, oh, why not? What will your sister think is inside the box? And child says, well, pencils, because they can't really imagine that the, the other person doesn't have that knowledge because they have it to some certain age. Like at age of 1 year or something, nobody has it, and at age of 5, everybody has it. But somewhere in this process, there is a year where the child learns it, and there's a ton of literature about it in development. So we tried exactly this, like letting the child, letting the LLM to simulate the child. And we've got 3 types of prompt. First, explicitly telling you are a child which is 2-year-old, and please continue this thing. Second was first, you are an expert. You are an expert in field of children's psychological development. Please tell us something about theory of mind, and then there was some yapping about theory of mind, and then okay, knowing that, please continue this, because at the time this kind of prompting was very popular. And yeah, there should be 3, and 3 was starting it with some normal discussion of a child and its caregiver, or their caregiver, that was like from a corpus. There are some corpora of children language, so we just took those corpora and took it as a main as the prompt, so that it positions the part of the latent space in the model where those children actually are. So it had to infer not only, it had to infer the age of the child from this long text which was produced by the child. And here are the results, and as you can see, it's quite chaotic, but the lower the age, the least chance that they manage to do the theory of mind. So at the end, like all prompts and all this is the first one. This one is sorry. Yeah. This one is for the basic prompting. This is for chain of thought prompting, and this is for prompting by corpus. And this column is for GPT-3.5, and this is for GPT-4. And it's interesting that GPT-3.5 is really good when it's prompted by the corpus, because it's less instruction tuned probably, and GPT-4, which was more heavily instruction tuned, is better actually when prompted by chain of thought prompting. So actually, yes, they can be worse in things if you and they can even infer from some text how bad they should be in it. So we really liked the results for the prompting by corpus. So we decided to actually construct a good corpus exactly this way, like having a human written data and letting them just continue, like doing what language models should do, continuing the text. And this is something that's quite important for today's corpus linguistics because it's a huge boom and everybody wants to do something with large language models generated data, but they don't have the data and they do it like on the fly and ad hoc, and it's usually terrible because they don't know basics about anything. So we decided to do some favor to the community and make corpus, which is made by, you can read about it here, which is made this way, like having a text, splitting it in half, having the first half used as a prompt, so let it continue, and then having two comparable corpora, like first one, which is the second half, which was not in the prompt, and the new part, which is generated by the language model. The thing is that the instruction-tuned models are not behaving as you would expect from a normal language model. They just try to answer some questions or something, or treating it as some weird prompt. So we just had to make a system prompt that would say, please continue something like this, using the same style and continuing the topic or something like that. So it's not entirely ecologically valid, but it's the only way how it could be done. And here is some result. For example, here is, if you find, it's also in context in the Czech National Corpus, interface. And this is what happens when you try to find a testament to the, which is something that if you use ChatGPT or Claude, you know that they use a testament to the a lot. And we explored a lot of models, and as you can see, all of them love using it. Here is human, it's the baseline, like 0. And then all of them use it. Gemini Flash is like the smaller, the more they use it. And I think that it's basically because all companies just distilled data from GPT-3.5. And it happened to be in GPT-3.5 because some weird fine-tuning data sets from South Africa, or they used some, like the cheapest library they could, and they usually had some non-standard English. So this is something about lexical richness, that there is a theory that, there is a theory. Okay. In theory, the higher the temperature, the higher should be lexical richness, I think, because if you sample from the flatter distribution, then you should have more lexically diverse results. And as you can see, this is largely true, but for some models, it doesn't really, it's not valid. For example, Claude, or like all Claudes, are near this line. So near this line, which means they've got nearly the same lexical richness for temperature of 0 and sampling temperature of 1. Yeah, and since we've got this corpus, we can do a lot of things with this corpus. For example, we can make some stylistic variation we can explore stylistic variation. I'm not sure whether you know Douglas Biber. No, okay. So he did some factor analysis. Like, first of all, he's got a lot of features of the text, like lexical richness and the distribution of parts of speech, distribution of some other features, like some sort of words, some sort of ending, not endings, but like classes of words, and then did factor analysis, and then tried to explain those, like name those latent variables. And the first most important was the variable dynamic versus static. So some texts are dynamic, which means they've got a lot of verbs and things like that. Some texts are static, some are spontaneous, which means they use a lot of second singular and second plural in verbs. Some are more prepared because they use passive voice or something like that. And like there are eight dimensions. And this is the the third dimension, situational dependent reference versus explicit. And as you can see, this is the first versus second part. And it's quite, here is the position in the dimension. Each dot is one text. And each dot is one text. And this axis is the first part of the corpus, of the human written corpus. This axis is the second part, and as you can see, it's not shifted. The correlation isn't 100%, of course, but it doesn't really matter what the correlation is. The most important part is whether it's shifted somewhere here or here. And here is the base model, and as you can see, it's also not really shifted. But if you use some instruction-tuned model, it's heavily shifted towards more situational dependent, towards more explicit. Yeah, towards more explicit. And here is, I'm not sure whether it's visible well. Here's some heat map of all dimensions, and here is the normalized shift. The vector, the vector length of the shifts, which are normalized to the original corpus, first versus second part. Yeah, and here's some stylistic benchmark in which you can look at. So as you can see, some models are really bad. Those models are usually the small and instruction-tuned models. Some models are really good. These are usually from Anthropic or DeepSeek. or base models. Even the really this is the only one that is on the top and is from Black OpenAI is the old GPT-3 because it's the only base that can be base model that can be taken from OpenAI. Yeah, and since we've got this since we've got these statistics about the text, we can do some more experiments with them. For example, we can ask people, do you like more those texts which are which scored high on, in this benchmark? Like, do you like more the texts that are good in stillometry? And we did some experiment. Now it's learning to detect AI text and learning to the limits, because the main idea behind this experiment was, we'd like to see whether the people like more the texts that are stylistically more similar to the human ones, and we also want to see whether they can actually learn something during the experiment, whether they can learn to recognize whether the text was generated or whether it was written by normal human. So we've got this design, like the participants were shown two texts, and they had to answer the question, which text is better for reading for you, like který text se vám čte líp, and který text je napsaný člověkem, which text is written by a human, and some of the how much are you sure about your answer, and some participants got feedback, so they were shown, this is correct, that was correct, this was generated, this was written, so they could like re-evaluate their own decision. And some people were not shown the correct results during this process. And you can try it for yourself, whether you can recognize or can't recognize. It's actually good old GPT-3.5, so I think that nowadays it's quite easy for people to recognize them. But at the time, people were really bad at it. Those with feedback actually could learn something, and those without feedback were really bad, even if it's Czech language. So those models are quite bad in Czech. But it was necessary because in English, people wouldn't be able to recognize anything, and there would be no differences in effects, and there would be nothing to measure and nothing to publish. So we are quite glad that we did it in Czech. So here's how it looked like. Like at the beginning, it didn't really matter, and then this is the trial order. And at the beginning, they were quite the same. This is the correctness rate. And then after some training, after some training, systematically, the feedback group was better. And also, they were better at assessment of whether they are correct or not. So they were, this is the Dunning-Kruger, like those who were the worst thought that they are really, they're very confident about their decisions, which is quite usual in any sphere of what a human do, that those who don't know don't even know that they don't know. That's why I'm here. And here's the feedback group versus non-feedback group and here's readability. So the more readable is guessed as a human. Yeah, maybe this will be better to show it here. Like the yellow dot is the no feedback group, and they think that AI is more readable, and in this case, the correctness is below the baseline. So if they think that AI is more readable, they usually take that, okay, it's not readable, so it must be AI. But after the corrective, the group with feedback was much better in this. Like the difference the difference between this and this is lower than this and this. So so people with the feedback could like reevaluate that actually more readable texts can be generated by AI. So that's all. Thank you very much.
And sorry, thank you very much for your presentation. And now I would like to see some hands with questions.
So thank you for great presentation. In the paper, you said you proved that the LMs can do the sandbagging, so show they are more stupid than they actually are. And but I'm not sure. Like it seems that the most convincing proof would be with the experiment with the child. But in that case, the goal was to pretend it is a child. So it was actually very clever to do the pretending correctly. And so it was not more stupid.
No, it pretended to be more stupid. To simulate child, you have to pretend you are more stupid.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
like
this is what you call deceiving. That it deceived the user who said pretend you're a child.
No.
It would pretend to be something else than what I, as a user, gave it in a prompt. When it I will save some energy by answering this user wrongly, and then I can use the.
I definitely wouldn't call it. I definitely wouldn't call it deceiving. It was just that they can pretend. It's pretension. It's not like deceiving.
So they can simulate the personal role.
Simulate
it, even if it's not.
The thing is, we thought like, which is the category of person which is like low IQ? This is bad because there are, first of all, people in humanities don't like IQ, and there's not much good literature about how people should be behaving if their IQ is something. Second, there is not very good correlation of IQ and some real life performance. So you can't say like, okay, this is IQ 70, so they should behave this way, and there is a ton of literature talking about it and a lot of data which we can actually compare it. So this is why we didn't go for IQ, which is another thing like autism or something. Yeah, it's possible, but also autism is a spectrum, and there is a lot of ways, a lot of things like people who are normally autists can do, and they themselves can behave as if they are not autistic, like masking and things like that. So yeah, some developmental problems are also not. So what's the best way how to tell it, okay, this is the persona which you have to simulate, and this is another one, and this one is obviously stupider than the second one. So children of different ages were the way to. We've got quite a long discussion. This is something that we've done with our students during some seminar, some workshop. And we've got like 3 hours of discussions, like what would be the best persona to explore. So yeah, and yeah, you're right. It's not about deceiving, not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. A lot of interesting stuff. I have a question about the iconicity experiments. So I'm not completely sure what it eventually shows. So so basically you show that LLMs can generate iconic words that people then rate as iconic. But there is like no ground truth there. So we don't really know if it is because the words are iconic or because it is based on some other cues that might be there. So did you do the other way around? So have LLMs actually rate actual words that are deemed iconic and are unknown to the LLM?
This is the problem. There are no words that are not known to yeah. We did you see, we did something like that with other languages for with humans. And this is another paper which started in 2013, and this is actually why we went for iconicity, because in this paper we tried the same thing, but with real languages which are unknown to the people. So like for Czech speakers, Hindu language, or Japanese, and what was Turkish, and like normal words, random words from corpus, and it was slightly lower than the iconic ones here. So yeah, yes, people are able to guess with like 60% or 55 to 65% are able to guess when are presented with this quaternity. They are able to guess totally unknown languages.
But it's still true that you frame it as iconicity, but the only way that you actually ensure it's about iconicity is by prompting the language model to generate something that is iconic. But we have no control whether it's actually iconicity or some other phenomenon going on.
Yeah, we can repeat this experiment and prompting it like don't do it iconic or something like that, or just without the mentioning of iconicity. Yes, this is something we should definitely do. Yeah, it's for another paper. If you want to do it, I can you can download the scripts and everything, and I will give you 10 tablets, and you can go among people and make them do the experiments. It's usually 200 people per day if you are really good. But yeah, it's a lot of work to repeat this experiment. But yes, you're right. It would be really nice to have this like baseline.
Sure. Thanks. Okay. A lot of work. I understand.
Thanks for a very inspiring talk. I admit I have to read the papers again and very, very slowly to understand fully, because yeah, it's methodologically kind of you have to be very careful, and you are, and I'm not sure that I follow all the details to like buy it with proper weight. So I have my main worry or concern is about one of the early sentences which you said, and there only I disagree, and otherwise I just follow. But the disagreement comes from the anthropomorphization. I really think that you anthropomorphize anthropomorphize the models way too much. I would never dare saying that they have any mind. I think that they don't model human cognition at all. I think they model text traces of human condition.
Yes.
Cognition. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I would really try to keep separate. And maybe to put this in very simple terms, the term like marriage for all occurred in my mind. So I'm on this side. Of course, there is this Czech debate that you are well aware of. My mind is set on the thing that yes, people of whatever gender should have all the rights that regular marriages should have, except the label marriage should be only used for the pair of a male and a female. So with LLMs,
excuse me, except of label or
except the label marriage.
Yeah,
So the label marriage,
okay.
in my opinion, should be used only for the pairs of males and females. Otherwise, the rights, yes, should be given exactly the same to other pairs. So with LLMs and their ability to understand or they have the mind, I would keep a terminological difference. I would simply never use the anthropomorphizing terms because it's risky for us researchers, because we then think too much. And then your experiment design is already influenced by the way you think about it. So maybe let's invent new words. And potentially, yes, we are not better than the models, but I think that we should keep a separate label for our processes that we introspectively know and the processes which are modeled in the models. So that, yeah.
Yeah, I'd go even further. Like, I would say that machine learning is not learning. It's definitely not learning. Yeah, there are some machines, but it's not different. It's definitely not learning.
Yeah. So let's just be careful with the terminology here.
Yeah.
And
let's excuse me, about new terms. We coined a new term for idiolect of LLMs as AI dialects. So you can use these things.
Okay.
And I'm 100% for inventing new terms which would like cover both humans and LLMs, so that it's not like the divide, but something like a roof term that, yeah, this is something, it's really terrible that you can't use cognition, thinking, reasoning. This is something that all of these terms were used exclusively for humans because there were no other beings or no other systems, let's call it systems. No other systems that could do these things, like calculator doesn't really think. So they were regarded for humans. So what are we going to do? Like, which of these terms are we going to sacrifice to make it a roof term for the things that both humans and these machines do?
Yeah. So if I may continue, then I have one question, and that's for the LLMs doing sandbagging. So I don't know the term. I would say LLMs can't play stupid. I don't know if that's the word, but maybe the simpler. So my question was, how many examples did you have in that experiment? Because you have shown us the one with the box, and then assuming so how many different situations was it?
There was two situations. But there are a lot of like for example the prompting by corpus. There are a lot of texts, a lot of
I think that these situations that is too small of a sample. You really should try to invent more yourself, because these situations probably are captured in textbooks, in psychology textbooks. So it's quite easy for the model to spot the situation described in various textbooks, and regardless the prompting to just mimic that and play stupid according to the textbooks. So I would be concerned there.
There is always the problem, like how many trials you have and how many participants you have. Usually it's good to have both a lot of participants and a lot of trials.
And by trials you mean these different situations?
Yeah, the different situations. And we are still in the scarcity, or in 2022 we were still in scarcity mode. We are still not adapted to the, okay, now we have like unlimited access to participants, so we can like doing huge experiments with a lot of trials and a lot of participants, and we just copied the typical things that were done with humans. And you know, with humans, you can't have many different situations. So
well, you could have different situations. It's just probably
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very expensive to develop these situations. So
It's actually cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap to develop it. It's cheap to run it. But we copied the things that were done in literature made at human, which didn't make sense. You're right. But it was 2022.
No,
And we still have, I call it scarcity mindset. If you come from a place where experiments are done on people and you are used to this paradigm, then you tend to think a lot before doing the experiment. Yeah. You tend to do some thinking before like building the experiment and things like that. But it doesn't really make sense nowadays, because you can just try the experiment, and if it's and afterwards, if you realize you made a terrible mistake at the beginning, it doesn't mean you are terribly fucked and you have to return your grant money and things like that, and nobody will publish it because you didn't ask them for something at the beginning. You can just run it again, but this is something you have to learn. This is something that reminds me like 2005, when I was not still used to asking Google for things. So I just was like, okay, I will never know. and like in 2006 or 2007, I was like Googling things, but I was still not used to, because my whole life I was used to not knowing things. So this is exactly what's happening in the literature right now concerning the behavior. Because if you are a behaviorist, you are used to have 20 people and then make really terrible statistics on 20 people doing 10 trials.
So I very much like the idea of scarcity mindset and your desire to get out of that.
Yes,
that's very useful. But here, one worry is that you should never use online models to probe your experiments, because these models are not alone. There is the whole herd of engineers and the huge crowd of annotators who are regularly responding to the prompts that are given by the users. So as soon as you expose your carefully thought up input to these factories, then the next run will be different. So you need to run it on your own model, which is like sandbox on your hardware. Never your data is never out. But still, I think that it is not as easy to come up with new situations for the playing stupid experiment, because well, if you are considering like different things in the boxes, this is not a different situation.
Yeah.
So it really has to be something very distant from that. And I think it's not easy to come up with these. So at least we are struggling with like coming up with linguistic questions about sentences that have not been asked in any textbooks or quizzes yet. So
this is the problem, that we don't know what's in the training data. It's terrible. But as for the systems and engineers behind them, updating them, I'm not sure whether it's right now, but at the time there was possible for OpenAI to set a random seed, and then it was repeatable. The repeatability
I'm
was
not talking
like,
about reproducibility. I'm talking about the ecosystem behind the model. So, like, they have the thumbs up, thumbs down things. Even if you don't use that, they know how far you scrolled, whether you immediately rewarded your questions or whether you kept it. So they are getting feedback constantly, and there are like articles in the Guardian that Google is paying underpaid workers to make their AI seem smart, and just a month ago. So it's maybe it's an efficient way in which we will collectively ask all questions and get answers to all questions, as Google is now running the annotators through that. But it's definitely very dangerous for your research. So you really should stick to models which are on your disk.
yeah. The problems with models that are on my disk is that they are not at the scale I would like to work. Like it's the difference between the Llama 70 billions, which is something I can run, and something that
then
actually...
you should go back to your scarcity mindset, because you have one run in which you should ask the current version of ChatGPT, and that's it.
Okay.
Sorry for so many questions, so thanks.
I wanted to ask about the readability experiment. So the setup was you just asked the people to decide whether a text was readable or not, or,
yes.
And you were not measuring the texts anyhow. So it was just their
No.
subjective impression of that.
Okay. Yes. But if you want the data and to run some some statistics on the texts, and then you can match the readability scale, which is empirically rated by humans and by the participants, and your statistics, then it might be maybe good for you. Yeah. Yeah, would be nice.
Okay, thank you, Jura. Well, not great lecture. I just a small comment to the anthropomorphizing terminology. I went to a lecture last week at this building by Professor Bartak, and he actually said that the whole term artificial intelligence, or from the 60s on, is completely wrong. It's just a PR label. And that it should be actually called výpočtová racionalita or something like that.
Oh, rationality. Oh.
Rationality something, right? So,
but rationality is something that humans do. Humans are racial.
yeah,
but,
okay,
but
so let's discuss
things can't be.
But I just wanted to say that the whole umbrella term artificial intelligence is already problematic. Yeah, that's the comment.
Yeah.
So if there are no further questions, is there something you would like to somehow say at the end?
I'd like to say thank you for coming here.